N'Keal Harry has formally requested a trade from the team. This coming through his agent and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network here just about an hour or so ago, Alex. And we're going to get into some initial reactions, just overall reactions to this news, what the Patriots might be able to get in return for N'Keal Harry, who has, again, formally requested a trade from the Patriots. And back when they drafted Harry in 2019, Alex, it felt like a round hole in a square peg in a certain way. And you kind of knew that he was going to have a very specific plan in place for him to succeed here, because he was not going to be Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Deion Branch, Troy Brown, that type of wide receiver that was going to win with route running precision and efficiency and quick breaks and separation ability and all that kind of stuff. This was a true downfield receiver that needed to flourish in a vertical type of route tree. And the Patriots had to be very specific with how they were going to use him. It never felt like they were able to get to that point. Injuries obviously played a major role. I think learning the complex playbook played a little bit of a role as well. But Harry's agent citing the fact that in 2 seasons with the Patriots, he's only had 86 targets. And on top of that, now they look at the depth chart. We see Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, the 2 tight ends. Where's the opportunity coming for a guy like N'Keal Harry? And now we get to this breaking point.
Right. I had him off my roster projection when I did that, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago after spring practices. So I'm a little surprised in with the veracity that this trade request was brought out. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but there was no place for him on this team. The way he'd been playing, he didn't separate himself in the spring, and there's blame to go around. I don't know that he necessarily progressed at the rate you would expect a first round pick to progress. And at the same time, Evan, you kind of touched on it, and I've talked about this in the past. I don't know that the Patriots used N'Keal Harry properly. I don't know that they put him in a chance to play to his strengths and succeed. If anything, he was playing to his weaknesses. They put him in a spot where they were asking him to do the things that he was probably the worst at in order to get open and win. And that just doesn't make sense. That's a recipe for failure, where his agent said that, something about a dominant deep ball threat who's great at the point of attack. That's probably a little exaggerated, but he was right about N'Keal Harry's ability to high point the football and win jump balls. And we saw it at times here and there. He made a nice catch against Kansas City in the back corner of the end zone. He made that catch up the seam against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. And you saw little flashes of it, but it wasn't necessarily that he wasn't able to do that all the time. I don't know that the team put him in positions to make those plays all the time. So it was a bad situation all around. I think a change of scenery for both sides is huge, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think N'Keal Harry is going to go elsewhere and, be a Pro Bowler, be an All-Pro, anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere else and is a contributor and is a legitimate third wide receiver, a red zone threat. I wouldn't totally write him off yet, but it's not going to be in New England.
Right. And I think that you hit on a bunch of key points there. And the biggest one that I see is that we saw flashes, that Rams game, like you mentioned, the Kansas City touchdown catch from Jarrett Stidham, even I believe it was his very first game against the Dallas Cowboys in 2019 when he caught that back shoulder touchdown on Byron Jones. And you saw that ability as a big-bodied wide receiver on the outside to go above the rim, high point the football, win contested catches. But the problem is that was never been high volume position for the Patriots, right? Someone that is going to go and win those jump balls has never been something that the Patriots have really featured a whole lot. Now, Gronk certainly did that in his prime, but that's Rob Gronkowski, right? That's a different animal in itself, and Gronk brought a lot of other things to the table as well. So that being the only thing. And I remember watching some of N'Keal Harry's tape this past season, the season before, and I just kind of watched it and said, what's the one thing that he's NFL good at? Like, what's the one thing that he is a above average pro wide receiver at? And the only thing that you can come up with is contested catches. So unless you're going to go out and throw him 100 plus targets and expect the production to come with 45 contested catches, then you have a player that is not going to be a high volume weapon for you. And the other thing that the Patriots tried to really do with him that we've discussed a bunch of times is the scheme touches, right? The end arounds, the
Right.
jet sweeps, the screen passes, getting him in the ball in his hands and allowing him to win as a ball carrier. And in college, N'Keal Harry was a very, very effective ball carrier. And I think at times in the NFL, the confidence, the fact that he couldn't get open in other ways down the field, that sort of lent itself to making him worse as a ball carrier too, because his confidence was just shot. But also in the open field, he is not a runaway NFL athlete, right? He's not somebody that is going to run away from people. He doesn't have elite separation ability, and that kind of translates to the fact that he doesn't have elite speed. So as a ball carrier in general, it never really worked out in that sense. So what were they going to use him as, and what was he going to flourish as here? Sort of became a difficult question to answer. And that's what his agent said in that statement, is that over the last couple of months, they've worked with the Patriots and Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels to try to find a role and find a way, a path for N'Keal Harry to be successful here. And it just got to the point after multiple conversations with the team that the agent and N'Keal Harry sort of felt like it's not going to happen here. And I think we've been saying this for a while. We've sort of written this off, I would say last season, really, that it wasn't going to happen here. But now we formally get the trade request from N'Keal Harry. And the one last thing about the contested catch thing, you sign Hunter Henry, you sign Jonnu Smith, you expect those guys to now be your red zone contested catch receivers and targets. So where are the targets? Where is the opportunity for N'Keal Harry? Probably not here anymore.